I'm going to take just a few moments, I think. As you know, we are honoring the plank owners of the USS Chikaskia, the men who were on the ship when it was commissioned November the 10th, 1943, about 50 years ago. We're going to ask each one of them to come up here, and we have a little gift for them. On the ship from September of 1943 to January of 1952, and that's a long time. I'm going to ask you to do something for me. Harry, as most of you know, is in San Diego with his wife. He's had severe physical problems. He cannot speak. He uses some machine of some kind, and he's waiting in San Diego right now, at this moment. If I got the right time, we have to wait about 2 minutes. I have contacted his wife, and he's going to hold the glass way up, and he's going to salute all of you, his shipmates. And it's kind of a touching moment, and I kind of break up when I think about it, but I'm going to ask you to raise your glass in about a minute now. We've timed this pretty carefully, and if you'll just shout out, he won't hear you, but you might shout out, "Attaboy Harry," huh? He's really remarkable. We have a plank owner certificate for him, and we're going to send this in the mail. We're going to send him a copy of everything we're doing, and I think it's quite a thing. I'm biding my time here, and I'm going to have a countdown. Are you ready for this? Get those glasses up, and let's, how about Attaboy Harry?
Attaboy Harry!
Let's really hear it for Harry.
Attaboy Harry!
Thank you very much. Thank you. We also have another special award to a plank owner. We had problems defining plank owner. Many of you helped us define it. Dick Cavanaugh gave me so many definitions that I got confused. But we thought there must have been a plank somewhere off that ship. Somewhere there was a plank. And do you know, we located it. It came floating down the Mississippi River. I don't know yet whose name is on it, but they tell me it has a serial number, it has a name, and it has Chikaskia on it.
Oh, boy.
Where is that plank? Who's got the plank?
Carrol.
Jerry.
Carrol.
Whose name is on that thing?
Isn't that cute? It looks like a paddle.
Oh, help him. Could you hold this up with each hand? Hold it up so we can see whose name is on that thing. An original plank from the USS Chikaskia, Seaman second class, Roland Peliquin.
Oh, my God.
Roland, we found your plank.
Oh, my heavens.
I've been looking for that plank for 50 years.
Isn't it?
Those I used to sleep on in the front both of my. Thank you, one and all. I'll remember this as long as I live.
Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful.
You can't see it, but on the back, this is how we really figured it out. We had his serial number in there. It didn't come out too well, but it's there somewhere.
I don't know how you can find out. I can't remember.
Thank you, Roland. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Carol. Laura.
And now we'll honor our plank owners, and as we call your name, we'd like you to step forward and get your diploma.
How am I going to get that home?
Hey, Dawn.
Maybe the Fabrics will keep it for you, Roland.
Yeah.
How about Amy?
Rolling. Rolling.
Roland,
Turn it around.
why don't you maybe leave it with the Fabrics? place, and there'll be a reason to come back.
Barbara's out here.
Thanks, Dawn.
Thank you, Roland. Thank you very much. Okay. As we call your name, we'd like you to come forward. Remember these fellas 50 years ago. We tried to get some information on them, and we had a hard time getting it. I hope what we have is accurate. It's like getting your high school diploma, fellas. So, are you ready for this? Brian Leroy Owen, coxswain, serial number 383-1439, enlisted June the 7th, 1942, originally from St. Ignatius, Montana, now living in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho.
Yay!
That's what, Ryan.
Smile at the camera.
Benjamin Edward Bassel, Seaman Second Class, serial number 643-2449, enlisted July 7th, 1943, from South Windsor, Connecticut, now living in South Winston. Thank you. Richard Badoff, storekeeper, first class, 817-7081, enlisted April 14th, 1943, from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, now living in Wildwood Crest, New Jersey. You saw the vacant chair at we were hoping that Nancy Bradford, most of you would remember Dr. Bradford, who died in 1982, but who thought the world of this group, and who, on his deathbed, his last words were about the Chikaskia. And rather odd in a way, because he was a leading physician in this city. He was a founder of the Ochsner Clinic, and his last words were about us. His daughter, Nancy, wrote a touching letter at that time, and we just couldn't read it. It made us all cry. He thought the world of us. It was Lieutenant Bradford, Medical Corps, commissioned from New York, deceased 1982. We would hope that his daughter would have been here but something went wrong. She is a city council member from the city of Lafayette, Louisiana. We'll put this aside and get it to him. She apparently couldn't make it. This is a special plank donor for all of us. His name is Clifford F. Kane, Jr., an ensign, serial number 184-810, commissioned August the 11th, 1942, from Bar Harbor, Maine, now living in New Britain, Connecticut. Cliff, attaboy. Richard.
A man was talking to a man from Maine, and he asked him, "Have you lived here all your life?" The Maine man said, "Not yet."
Living in Chicago, Illinois. Kenneth William Dryberg, fireman first class, serial number 808-4321, enlisted January 28, 1943, originally from Martinsville, New Jersey, now living in Lanoka Harbor, New Jersey. Jack Henry Gingrich, Seaman Second Class, serial number 8207773, enlisted June 16, 1943, from Lebanon, Pennsylvania, now living in Lebanon, Pennsylvania. Jack? From Jeddo, Pennsylvania, now living in East Lansdowne, Pennsylvania. His wife did the Afghan hanging on the wall. Thank you very much. William Nathaniel Hilliard. Wow. Ensign Serial number 225558, commissioned August the 5th, 1991. Enlisted, August 5th, 1991, commissioned, 1943 ensign. From Jerry, North Carolina. Now living in Raleigh, North Carolina. A favorite of ours, John McLaughlin, Lieutenant, 102699, commissioned, September the 10th, 1941, from Baltimore, Maryland. Now living in Easton, Maryland. That's what Jack.
Hey, Jack.
Norman H. Moore, Fire Controlman, 3rd class, serial number 3124721, enlisted November the 17th, 1942, from Coldwater, Michigan, now living in Quincy, Michigan. Berwin William Ott, Seaman 2nd class, 821-0646, enlisted March the 11th, 1943, from Lansdale, Pennsylvania, now living in Lansdale, is that right? Pennsylvania. Hold on. Roland NMI Pelican. No middle initial.
No middle initial.
Seaman 2nd class. Serial number 6073183, enlisted August 3rd, 1943, from Lemon, Minnesota. Leo, Minnesota, Pennsylvania. Now living in Leo, Minnesota, Pennsylvania.
Yes.
Massachusetts. I'm sorry. We should have had Bert Weber here. He also is a banker, couldn't make it, but he enlisted the same day with this fella, and they were discharged the same day. The Navy got rid of both of them at the same time.
Right on.
Good riff. Louis James Powers, enlisted August the 20th, 1942, from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, now living in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Your rating was Radio Man 2nd class when you went aboard. Shame on you. Okay, 2nd class. Attaboy, Lou. Joseph Stanley Polterak, ship's cook, 1st class. 548-54-4361. Enlisted August the 5th, 1935. Living now in Anaheim, Pennsylvania, but at that time, Philadelphia. From Philadelphia. Anthony Samuel Rena, Seaman 1st class, 805-5509, enlisted April the 1st, April Fool's Day, 1943, from Rochester, New York, now living in Rochester, New York.
Attaboy, Tony.
C. Charles Roberto, machinist mate, 1st class, enlisted from, now living in Braintree, Massachusetts. When did you enlist?
I enlisted, first time I enlisted was 1935.
Right here.
And I did 27 years in the Navy. I got out in 1965.
Thank you.
Thank you, Charles. Frank NMI Scheiderer Jr., water tender, 2nd class, 279-9171, enlisted December the 22nd, 1941, from Marysville, Ohio. Well, we know some stuff. Now living in Springfield, Iowa. Donald NMI Sopa.
NMI, what's that?
No middle initial.
Serial number 202-3172, enlisted May the 28th, 1942, from Lynn, Massachusetts. Now living in Lynn, Massachusetts. His rating was Sigelman Third class. Attaboy.
Talk to the camera.
Robert Lee Warren.
Robert.
Serial number 8191622, enlisted June the 17th, 1943, from Hughesville, Pennsylvania. Now living in Hughesville, Pennsylvania.
Hooray for the plumbers.
We had three fellows who were due here, and some of you may remember them. R.C. Pennington,
Yeah.
Charles Evans, Don Dixon, Don Rowe, Joe Braxmeyer, all because of physical problems are just not here. And last but not least, we have Jerry Arthur Russo. Stephen, second class, 814-2885, enlisted July 31st, 1943, from Brooklyn, New York. Now living in Massapequa, New York. Jerry? Thank you. And that's all I have. We have one other thing we're going to do, and that'll be it. There were 294 men on that ship. 64 of them actually went to sea before they came aboard. We determined if they were experienced deep water sailors, if they had sea duty of 1 year. Out of 294 that sailed out of Baltimore and went off to the Great War, only 64 out of that group were really sailors. The rest learned their trade on the way, okay? On the way. Talk about on-the-job training, they did it, okay? We have a complete list of all these fellows, and we have other things for you. For everyone else here, all crew members, we also have a little booklet, but we thought we'd just hand those out rather than call everybody's name, okay? If you're curious about the reunion, we have about 111 people here, 56 crew members, 21 plank owners, and I think we have a pretty good crowd.
Yeah.
We all agreed, when I closed out, we would give 3 rousing cheers for the plank owners. Now, I don't know exactly how to do this, but I think it's hip hip hooray. Does that sound right? And Jerry's going to lead us. Jerry?
Thank you very much. Can't follow that act. Hip hip!
Hooray!
Hip hip!
Hooray!
Hip hip!
Hooray!
As a militia, the kings of going to sea and going to war. And our job was to support them, which we did for the next 2 years, 20 or 21 months, with a short stop back in Long Beach to get some repairs made. On the way out there, I think it was probably January, the end of January, or maybe into February. And as we approached one island, it was called Truck. We had orders to avoid it because there were still planes operating out of Truck, and they were very dangerous to us. They had been leveled by our aircraft from the carriers, but we never knew exactly if everything was down. And we were really vulnerable because we were carrying the stuff that the fleet had to have to keep going and win the war. You know, just because we were oil tankers doesn't mean that we weren't real warriors, at least that ship. The task force couldn't operate without us. No way could they do it. They could do without everything except bullets and black oil. And that's what we got. And we followed those guys around out there, as I said before, for 20 months. We were always in the forefront, always near the islands being attacked. First ones up front, the last ones to leave. So we really had nothing to be ashamed of on being in an order. We were one of the fastest, biggest, and best equipped boilers in the world. And we worked with 6 others who were the best. I might say that no other tanker could have done any job better than we did. I've forgotten how many times we fueled, but I guess there must have been 1,000, 1,500 times that we fueled ships. 8 o'clock in the morning until 8 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 10 o'clock the following day, non-stop. No crying, no whining, just a hell of a fun bunch of guys. When we left truck, and we were getting pretty close then to the main task force, the only threat that we really had left was submarines. The Japanese were very good, fine submarines, they were fine sailors, and they were very, very brave. And we were very, very careful about our lookouts. We had lookouts all over the ship 24 hours a day. Up on the mast, and up in the forecastle, we had them in gun mounts, we had them in the forecastle, and we watched. We didn't have Iran and radar and all kinds of underwater detection equipment. It was just eyeballs. And believe me, our guys really had eyeballs, and they looked, because they know that one submarine could really put 300 guys to sleep very quickly. One evening on the 12 to 4 watch, Bill Hilliard and I stood at 12 to 4, and I can remember this because we did it for, I think, almost 6 months. And after 6 months, we both had great big bags in our eyes because we had general quarters then at 5 o'clock. And then we went to bed until 7 o'clock, and then we had breakfast, and then we got up and turned 2. And this went on for 6 months. This morning, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, had a brilliant moon, beautiful moon, had beautiful stars all over the sky, absolutely clear, something like a storybook. Sea was smooth, and that's the worst thing we could have had. We wanted fog and bad weather and stuff like that where the submarines couldn't come up. Sometime around 2:15, telephone operator up on the bridge says, some guy up on the forecastle was saying, Lordy, Lordy, Lordy me. I looked at Bill, he looked at me, I thought, and the next thing I know, this guy hollers, torpedo! This is followed by another, torpedo! And this is followed by a third one, torpedo! And God damn it, we were terrified. Bill kept us cool, sounded general quarters. I kept my cool, but I was nervous. Gave him a big right full rudder, all in as a head flank. The engine room responded immediately, and we took off as fast as we could go north. We went up there for probably, in the meantime, we sounded general quarters, and I think we set the fastest general quarters set in the history of the United States Navy. The engine room reported, we're ready to go. The gunnery department said, all men are ready, damage control was ready, and I remember little Tony ran running around down there on the deck, and he had on his asbestos suit and carrying a hose. Now we were ready to go to war. Captain came on the bridge. We continued on for maybe 10 minutes. Nothing happened. And finally our ship was surrounded by flashing forms going around the ship and jumping over each other and going under the ship. Well, we weren't being attacked by porpoises. We were just having a hell of a good time playing hide and seek. Just playing with us, just good friendly porpoises. So we didn't say anything to anybody at the time. The captain went to bed, we secured from German quarters. A couple of guys said a bad word, and we went down below. By that time, I'd been getting off watch, and so did Bill. And what happened after that was Carrol Chauvin came up to the bridge and said, who did it? And we said, that guy down there on the forecastle. And that guy down there on the forecastle was around 7 feet tall, and about this big. And he apparently had been terrified. And Carrol said, I'm going to throw him overboard. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jack. And for the 50s, Virgil Rude, please. I'd like to announce this is the first time he's been aboard.
Everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I came aboard the Chikaskia in July of '51. Merrill Island shipyard is in the yards there. And then, so after we finished our yard work, we had underway training down in San Diego, and then we took a load of oil to Alaska, and we hit some very rough weather up there. And going there, we had to turn around with a chain locker got filled up with water, so we had to turn around and pump it out, and we continue up to Adak and Kodiak, and it was the roughest trip that I was on in like 4 years. And we was MSTS tanker then, and we went to San Diego and Remington, Hawaii, and then we made 6 trips through the Panama Canal, and we picked up oil at Port Arthur and Aruba, and we hit Puerto Rico and Norfolk, Philadelphia, and Boston. In about '53, we got orders on the East Coast that we were going to get a fleet tanker, so we left there and we went to Long Beach and put another gun on the front. I think it was a 3-inch or so. And so we made 2 trips over to Korea, and Sasebo was our home port over there, and we go out in the Yellow Sea and refuel the port carriers and escorts there. And we hit Kaohsiung, Formosa. We sat there a month, and that's when they sent trouble with China. And then we hit Subic and Manila and Hong Kong. And we was over there when the Korean War ended, and so when that was over, we came back and we spent, I spent my last 6 months in Todd Shipyard in San Pedro. And then I heard after I got out, and it went into, it went out for 2 months, I heard, and then it went into mothballs. And from then, I don't know when it came back in service again. And so I spent 43 months on it.
Thank you, Kurt. And for the 60s, we have Mike Little.
First, I'd like to announce something, that we're celebrating 50 years of the Chikaskia. We also have somebody here with us tonight who was born November 10th, 1943. Will be 50, and it's Billy Lattery.
Hey.
So it's amazing. You guys are going to see it. It's got going on at home, too. I served on the Chikaskia I picked her up in 1963 in Baltimore, again, where you people brought the ship out of. This is when all the new rigging was put on. There was a lot done to the ship. The guns were removed. Peacetime, we didn't need any guns anymore, I don't believe. Wasn't no good for the stuff that's out there today, anyhow. We sailed from Baltimore to Cuba for underway training. We were down there for, I believe, 12 weeks, not positive. When we came back from there, we had a little conflict with one of the gentlemen. I don't remember if we went to the North Atlantic or we went to the Mediterranean for 9 months. But I thought we went to the Mediterranean for 9 months, which when we were over there, I would say that probably every ship that was still around that you gentlemen had seen, we refueled again in 1963 to 66, that's for sure. I think each med cruise we made, we probably did about 24,000 miles. of traveling. At one time, I used to know how much fuel. I can't find that record, but I know we had how much fuel we had pumped off, and it's a tremendous amount of fuel that we had pumped to all the carriers and cruisers and whatever. We came back from the Med. We went to the North Atlantic. We made a NATO cruise. We were within 80 miles of the Arctic Circle, but we never did cross the Arctic Circle. Elderly gentleman said that was the roughest waters I've ever seen also. It was cold and it was rough. We stayed up there until December, I believe it was. We came back here. We were back. Could have been a few weeks, maybe a month, down to the Caribbean again. Did a lot of time in the Caribbean, training and everything else. From the Caribbean back to the United States to Norfolk. Out of Norfolk back to the Mediterranean again for 6-7 months. I believe the next cruise I made on her. Came back from there. We were back for a few weeks. Down in the Caribbean again. Then I got news from Uncle Sam that he wanted us to stay an extra 4 months because of Vietnam. Everybody was involuntary extended, any active personnel. I got off the ship in April of 1966. And I was proud to serve on her. I still am. And I really appreciate the job here today, especially Carrol and his wife.
Thank you, Mike Little.
Carrol.
Carrol Chauvin will pass the hat to Cliff King from Reunion 13. Cliff will give his report on next.
We're going to get the cap. It's okay. No, it's okay.
All right. Cliff will give his report on next year's reunion, the 14th. Cliff King.
This is the happiest moment of my day, I'll tell you.
Give him that one.
Cliff, I turn it over to you. I turn it over to you, and I know you're going to do a great job, and he'll tell you where we're going next year. Let me put the hat on you as we do, the ceremonial hat. You notice we got the brass on it. Oh, you look pretty good.
Yay.